All right, guys, welcome back to White or Black. Today's video is The Man in the Mirror. Now, this is actually a two-part story. The first occurring back when I was in high school. Group of friends, we'd go out, we'd cruise around, small town. Those were the things you would do for entertainment. And sometimes you would get out on a dirt stretch and, you'd start sharing stories and stuff. And on this particular night, we ended up out here on this dirt road, and I can't remember exactly what all the stories were, but we were trying to scare each other and whatnot with our stories, and we ended up pulling off the corner of this dirt road. And as we were sitting there off the corner of this dirt road, I had been saying something about, something behind us and whatever, just trying to get a rise out of people. And sometimes you don't realize that your stories themselves can actually stimulate something else, maybe, that might be there. This was a strange occurrence like that. So anyway, I had kind of got a few of the ladies, that was in the back seat. I had kind of got them a little stirred with it, and just kind of heckling a little bit. Well, we decided, it was kind of creepy right where we were at. It was dark, and you couldn't see a whole lot. And I was like, all right, well, all right, we'll go. So I started the car, and, upon starting the car, it's a habit, check your mirrors, right? Well, I took and stepped on the brake, and looking in my driver's side mirror, I could see a man illuminated by the tail lamps. The man that was standing there looked very out of place, though. His clothing and his dress looked more of early settler time. He dressed in clothing reminiscent of pioneers, and he wore a black hat. And his round-rimmed black hat, the brim came down where you could not see his eyes. You could just see the end of his nose and down to the bottom of his jaw. And he was just standing there. I had to double check it a couple times, make sure I was seeing what I was seeing. Granted, this is all within 2 or 3 seconds, and he was there. And it scared me to death. And I had it in gear and was peeling tires and going down the road, and everyone else in the car thought I was playing, because that's what we were doing. And as we got further down the road, they wanted me to slow down because I was driving a bit erratically, and it kind of scared people. And I told them, I was like, at first this story and this and that I was doing was a joke. But when I stepped on the brake, there was someone standing behind the car. He was illuminated by the taillights. I told everybody this story, and a few years down the road, I had forgotten the whole story. I just kind of out of sight, out of mind. Which brings us to the second part of our story. Now, the second part of the story, granted, this memory had dissipated. It was in the back of my mind. However, this particular night, I was probably in 1998, possibly 1999. Group of friends, similar habits. We were out about having a good time. We had a fire going, good sized fire going. Everybody was having a good time, listening to music. We had a bonfire going. Everybody was having a good time. Little bit rowdy. And, we were in a very close proximity to this area where this past occurrence had happened. Like I said, that other story, an experience completely out of sight, out of mind. We were just having a good time. And at one point, at this party, that we were all enjoying, a friend of mine who'd had a few drinks, he had a couple people that needed to go back to town. And, probably not the best idea. But one of my other friends let him borrow his car, and they were just going to run to town and be right back. Well, at this point, there was a lot of law enforcement that was cracking down on our habits, and so they were patrolling around quite often, and it was very familiar with our activities. So on my friend's ride back to town, unbeknownst to any of us, he made a poor decision, and especially not being his car, he'd had a few drinks, and once again, there they were. He decided it'd be a good idea to, I know these roads better than they do, and I'm gonna lose them. So he proceeded to try and lose the cops and was going way too fast on this dirt road. Well, that didn't end so well. He ended up rolling my friend's car, which was later totaled. Thankfully, no one was hurt. He made a mistake, and he ended up arrested, and so this was unbeknownst to any of us. Shortly thereafter, though, another friend of mine was coming back to the party. He apparently was on a different route and was able to bypass the police, and he arrived at the party to make all the rest of us aware of what had happened. And he was advising us to either stay put or take an alternate route around to bypass the officers. Well, this was a pretty big buzzkill, and nobody wanted to risk getting in any more trouble, any trouble that had already occurred. So, at the current time, my current girlfriend I was there with, we said, we're not even gonna, not gonna risk it. We decided not to head back towards town, not to try and take an alternate route. The party was pretty well over after that point, so I knew the area pretty well, and we drove up from this camp spot to a secluded location away from the ongoing party. It was fizzled out. Night was kind of ruined right there. So we decided that we were going to just try and catch some shut-eye and get some sleep in the car. And that's what we proceeded to do. So I don't remember us sleeping very well. Obviously, we were sleeping in the car. It was an old 96 two-door Plymouth Neon Sport Coupe I owned. And yeah, not the most comfortable car to try and sleep in. We had the seats reclined and this and that. And, we were probably going to bed. It was probably 2, 3 in the morning. I had no idea what the actual time was. But when we finally had drifted off to sleep, I remember being awoken to my girlfriend waking up like panicked, like fight or flight, and thinking, what's going on here? It startled me awake, and I proceeded to ask her about it. Well, she went on to tell me about the dream she was having. In this dream, she said we were parked exactly as we are right here in this spot, and a group of people had come out of nowhere and surrounded the car. I mean, a large amount of people. And she went on to describe how these people, they looked like pioneers and whatnot. And there was one leader to the group, a male, and how he had begun to state that we were not welcome there, that this was their land, and they were proceeding to try and get into the car, this large mob of people, and it scared her so bad that's why she came out of her sleep like she did. Crazy thing, I instantly had this flashback come back to me, and I said to her, I was like, did the man that was addressing you, that was explaining, that this was their land, did he happen to have a black round-rimmed hat and the brim down right to the bridge of his nose, where you couldn't see his eyes, you could just see the end of his nose down to his chin? And she said, yes. How did you know? And I proceeded to tell her about this other experience that I had had. So, crazy experience. Regardless, the sun was now up. But this is actually an instance that I have actually tried to research, more paranormal, research, to actually see if there's not some history to this particular stake of land. And my wife and I have been out there and used a few paranormal, like spirit box type of tools, and quite often we do get names, and a lot of these names sound like older used names, older biblical names, and very, very strange. So never have quite reached the bottom of this story, but I believe that there is something there in this area around our hometown, and I believe that maybe the alcohol had something to do with it, on obviously maybe one or more occasions where possibly alcohol is able to stimulate your ability to attune to things from the other side. It opens up gates and doorways that we can see things that we wouldn't normally perceive. And regardless, I believe that whatever else is there, I believe it tried to let us know what they still believe is theirs. So that's the end of the story for today. I appreciate all you guys' support here at White or Black. Like I said, we've been making some pretty good progress here with the channel. I hope you guys are still enjoying them. I appreciate all your support. Help us get these videos out there. Give us some support if you really enjoy them. Subscribe to the channel. Give us some likes, which helps us get the videos out there to more people. And feel free to share the comments. I'm always willing to listen to comments, respond. I like to know what you guys think. Sometimes it helps me gain some different perspective. Until next time, thanks for joining us on White or Black. We'll see you in the next video.